Hi, Purpose Partner. Welcome to another episode of Rise to Your Purpose, a personal and spiritual development podcast for female entrepreneurs with a mission. We are your hosts, Brandie and Natalie.
We are founders of Victorious Entrepreneurs Rising, where we guide women to build profitable businesses online through diversifying your income, using kingdom principles in marketing, and operating in a spirit of rest so that you can create kingdom impact.
After this episode, be sure to join our Purpose Partner Facebook community and get your copy of our Rise to Your Purpose devotional so we can continue to serve you as we partner together in our faith and business. Let's dive into today's episode. Hey, friends and Purpose Partners. Welcome to another episode of Rise to Your Purpose. I'm your host, Brandie, and I'm one of the founders of Victorious Entrepreneurs Rising, along with my sister, Natalie Lawson, and we're on a mission to help you build profitable online businesses that create kingdom impact, all while operating from a place of rest. So today I have a special guest that I'm so excited to introduce you to. Her name is Sam Turner, and she is the owner of Forks and Grace. She is a faith-based dietitian and enjoys helping people on their physical and spiritual health journey to build a more positive relationship with food through God's word. Her goal is to help you feed both your body and your soul, one with healthy food and one with Jesus. So welcome so much, Sam, to Rise to Your Purpose podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I'm so excited to hear more about your story. So tell us a little bit about why you created Forks and Grace and kind of how you got into this industry.
Yeah, so you actually kind of touched on why I created Forks and Grace. Really was just to combine two of my favorite things, food and Jesus. So I am a dietitian. I'm a faith-based dietitian. And so a lot of what I do revolves around food and nutrition. And it just kind of goes back to my childhood as well. And I didn't have a lot of experience with actual nutrition. I wasn't taught a lot about how you can use food to fuel your body, like how to actually nourish your body. It's just kind of like you eat what's on your plate. And thankfully, my parents had a lot of nourishing foods to provide for my family. And so I was able to definitely have some healthier eating habits, more so than some of the other people in my community. So I'm from a rural town in Southwest Virginia. And so a lot of what was kind of available to eat was those southern foods, fried foods, fatback, biscuits and gravy, things like that. And so it wasn't really a lot of exposure to nutrition when I was growing up. And so that's what kind of led me into this career path as a dietitian. And so when I was in high school, I started experiencing dieting because, there were certain circumstances in my life where I felt like I needed to lose weight, to look a certain way, to have worth and things like that. And so I had a lot of body image issues for a while there. And so I actually started dieting in high school, and that did spark a lot of my interest in nutrition. And so I will say in high school, I didn't like nourish my body per se. I just did all of the like trendy diets, the fad diets, and I was successful with weight loss, but it was definitely unsustainable. I wasn't happy. I was, still not happy with me, with my body, me personally, things like that. And so I wanted to learn a lot more about nutrition and actually how to use it for its purposes, like why we need food, what types of foods we need to have our body functioning and things like that. So that's why I became a dietitian, to really solidify my background in nutrition, to be able to help educate other people on sustainable nutrition habits that are going to improve their health and are going to help them, experience that body positivity and experience like a nourished life. So that's a little bit of a background of how I got into the dietetics realm. And I didn't really see a lot out there on faith-based nutrition. And so one of my goals in 2021 actually was to read the whole Bible in the entire year. And I was able to successfully complete that. And while I was reading the Bible, a lot of things were kind of just jumping out at me. I could just relate it right back to nutrition habits, to health, to body positivity, to self-worth, and things like that. And so I, was trying to find like faith-based nutrition resources out there, and people to kind of use and things like that. And I didn't find a whole lot in that specific topic area. So that's really like the kickstart for my business, was to kind of fill a gap that I saw a need for out in the world, to actually help people achieve food freedom, achieve body positivity, things like that, through God's words, and using God's guidance to help them build a nutrition plan that's going to meet their lifestyle needs and meet their nutritional needs.
I love that so much. One of the things I love about your story is that God spoke directly to you, and like the unique message that he has in your heart. Because when I read the Bible, I'm like, a lot of times I approach it from like a entrepreneur, like how to build success, how to steward businesses or steward finances and stuff. And so it's funny how, like, when I read the Bible, God gives me specific messages. And you have such a unique talent and gift that and message that he wants you to have. And so, like, the food part was, jumping out to you. So I just think I just love how God works in each of us and speaks to each of us in different ways. And then it's just on us, right, to be obedient and go out and take the action to what he's revealing to us. So I just thought that was a cool aha moment as you were talking. So I would love for you to share a little bit more about God's gift of food, because I don't feel like we hear that a lot when we're talking about nutrition and diets. It's a lot of times it's either, right, you have to go on this diet because there's like a negative connotation to dieting and to food, and oh, if you're eating a carrot, then oh, you're no fun, you don't want to diet. Like, so I think there's such a negative mindset around actually using food to fuel our bodies and the natural foods that God has actually given to us. So I would love for you to share more about your perspective with that.
Yeah, and you make a really great point, because there is a lot of like negative tones towards food and nutrition, just because of society. So,
Yeah.
in the Bible, it tells us not to conform to society. And so that's true in the nutrition industry as well, because personally, I believe that a lot of the diet industry, the food industry, the diet and mentality, they're all fueled by the devil's lies. So when
Yes.
you're hearing those messages around, you can't eat carbs, that is a devil's lie. When you're hearing the like messages around like you need to like eat butter in your coffee, that's the devil's lie. Like you don't have to do certain things like that to actually be nourished and fuel in your body. And so if you dive into the Bible, it actually shows why food is a gift from God, like what he gave us, like how we're supposed to use it to really nourish our temple, because that's like our main purpose on
Right.
this earth. We need to be nourished and be sustained to actually live out God's purposes for our life. He needs strong and healthy and confident soldiers to be able to win this
Yeah.
war for him. And so that's part of what nourishing your temple really is as well. And so God does give us the gift of food. And so if you look in Genesis, you can see that when he was creating the world, he created plants, like fruit bearing plants, and he gave humans animals to have as meat. And so then, at the end of it, he says, like, he took a look at everything that he created and he saw that it was good. And so that right there is telling you that God gave humans on this earth those plants. So like your whole grains, your fruits, your vegetables, things like that, your nuts and seeds, he gave you those. And he also gave you meats because he saw that, we need some more substance, I guess, more protein to be able to fuel our body as well. And that's not to say that if you're a vegetarian or a vegan and you don't want to eat meat, like that's bad. That's not a bad thing. It's your personal preference. It's what works best in your life that you should actually be able to do. But if you're a meat eater and you're listening to all these people say you can only eat plants, like that's the only way to get healthy, like if you eat meat, like you're a bad person, things like that. Again, those are like part of the devil's lies, being influenced by the devil's lies, because God gave us all of that and he said it was good. So that's really like the main main support or evidence where we see that God gave us the gift of food. And so he created the human body, and so he knows exactly what the human body needs.
Right.
And then he created foods on this earth to meet the needs and meet his exact needs for the human body. And unfortunately, as we have grown as a society and like went through the centuries and decades and things like that, our concepts of what our body needs has just been so swayed by, again, just the devil's influence. And a lot of people are overwhelmed and confused because they don't know what they actually need to be eating, what God actually wants them to use for nourishment and things like that. And so really what I talk about, like in my courses and things, which we can get into a bit, is like what nutrients are actually gonna nourish your body and which ones God had the purpose for nourishing your body. And so that is carbs, fats, proteins, vitamins, and minerals, and water. So all of those are the nutrients that God designed for your human body to eat to fuel for his purposes in your life. So that's kind of my take on like how food is a gift from God.
No, I love that. And as I've been also diving into like the Old Testament and the New Testament, like I've picked up where there are specific foods that we are called to eat, and foods that God's like, no, don't eat this because it's not good for your body. And I know I've mentioned this to you before, but I haven't finished it, but I'm reading the book called The Maker's Diet, and it's written by a guy who has Crohn's disease, which I also have, and how he healed his body through a biblical based diet and nutrition. And I was just like, whoa, that makes so much sense. Like why God told us not to, eat the meat of pork, of pig. So don't eat pork, right? Because like those pigs are eating basically trash, and then we're eating their meat. So that's why it was like marked unclean. Now I think in the New Testament we were kind of freed from that law, but it still makes sense. Like why, when the dietitians are like, you really shouldn't eat bacon like every day of your life, and that's all you're eating because it really is not the best for you. And it was just interesting. Some of the other foods, he's like, these like certain fish or certain seafood, like these are actually bottom feeders. Like they were created by God to clean up the environment that they nurture in the sea or in the body of water. Like we're not supposed to consume those because they're not for us. And that just has totally shifted my perspective on dieting and nutrition. And oh, like God actually does give us a blueprint for how to sustain and fuel our bodies and be healthy and feel good, and so that we can go out and fulfill the calling he's placed in our lives. So I love that you shared that. Um, Another topic that I would love to kind of dive into with you about is how food can actually become an idol in a person's life and create that distance in our hearts from God.
Yeah, so this is a concept that I kind of came about in my time of dieting, and really like took a self-reflection moment, I guess, to figure out like why am I still unhappy? I lost the weight, like I did what
Right.
society told me to do. Why am I still unhappy? And so then after becoming a dietitian and really learning those like nutrition principles and like a lot of the like research behind like why certain nutrition practices are actually beneficial, I then went to the Bible to really figure out like how can those principles and strategies apply to what God needs us to do, and kind of shifted them together. And as I was doing that, that's when I realized, okay, so if we are dieting is controlling our heart. So we might not want that, or we might not even think that while we're in that stage of our health journey. But if you really think about it, if you are dieting, it is going to control you. It's going to control what you're eating. It's going to control like maybe the times you're eating. It's going to control like, your mindset of, oh my gosh, I can't even eat a cookie because like it's not going to fit into my calories, or, certain things like that, which can lead to a lot of disordered eating habits and, just unhappiness and things like that. And so that's really how it can become an idol in your life if you let it. And so food and dieting, if you let it control you, that's when it becomes an idol. It's like anything else in life. So anything that is controlling your heart that's not God will be an idol. And if you are letting something else control your heart, then that's distancing you further away from God. And he doesn't want that. That's like his main goal is just to take like your whole heart and bless you abundantly in life. And he wants to do that, but you have to be obedient and let him do that. You have to let him into all areas of your wellness, and that includes nutrition and your food habits. And so if you partner with God in your health journey, you're not going to be focused on dieting. So there's a difference between improving your nutrition habits and dieting. Okay.
Yeah.
And so when you're on a diet, like on a fad diet or a trending diet, that is when it's going to be an idol. If you're listening to God, if you're actively seeking him, you're rooting your nutrition choices in him, and you're kind of sitting there like, okay, what can I eat that's going to nourish my temple, that's going to give me enough energy and fuel to fulfill God's purposes in my life? Then over time, if you're not already used to making those healthier food choices, over time, that mindset's going to lead you to those more nourishing foods. That's not to say you can never enjoy a cookie, enjoy some cake, enjoy the biscuits and gravy, things like that. All foods can fit in a healthy nutrition plan, and they can have a purpose in your life, and your like fueling of your temple. But it's important to really learn what your body needs and what God needs you to eat to feel nourished. And so, like I said, rooting your decisions and really seeking him and what you need to actually eat to feel nourished is a good way to stop letting food and diet and be an idol in your life, and really, giving your heart to God. And a lot of people don't understand that concept, because even in the church, like some people, they'll just come in and they'll be like, well, like say we're having a gathering, like a potluck, and they're like, well, I can't eat that because I'm on a diet, or I'm trying to lose weight, or you hear it everywhere, even in like Christian settings, that people are influenced by dieting, influenced by societal lies, like the devil's lies, things like that. And you just don't even realize that it's an idol in your life. And so if it is an idol, in your life, I encourage you to really seek God and like really like ask yourself, okay, is food controlling me? Do I think about what I eat consistently, like all day long, every day? Like it controls my plans. Am I unhappy like with my nutrition habits, with my body, things like that? And you'll be able to like kind of feel if it's an idol or not in your life. And then once you like realize that, I encourage you to really seek God to let him show you how he needs you to eat to feel nourished.
Yeah. Yeah, as you were talking, I just kept remembering in the Radiant Leadership Academy that I'm going through, one of our pillars is on like health and wellness. And Michelle Schaefer, the leader who's coaching us through that, is like food is, eat in a way that's an act of worship. And I was like, yes, like this is making so much sense to me. Like when you talk and I kind of putting those pieces together, like, yes, like we should be eating as an act of worship. Like we're feeding our temple and we're doing this to the glory of God. And we're free. Like he's given us a spirit of freedom and peace and love and sound mind and self-discipline and not a one of slavery. We're not, tied to a yoke of burden. And so I think a lot of times we as a society, like you said, like we are putting our food almost like we're enslaved to it. It's a burden of what are we going to eat? Oh, eating something healthy just doesn't sound fun, or like there's like we were saying before, like there's this negative connotation to like even eating healthy and almost like we have to take this mindset shift, right? Take captive of those thoughts to make them pleasing to the Lord, get rid of those lies from the enemy that says eating this grape or this banana or this healthy piece of meat, is going to taste bad or it's not going to be fun because it's not filled with sugar and oh, it's not have doesn't have a sprinkle on it, right? Or it's not
Yeah.
an alcoholic beverage, like oh, that's not fun to drink water. Like those are lies that at least I have in my mind at times are instead of and now I'm like working to shift those lies that I was raised in around food and be like, no, this is an act of worship. This is another way I get to become closer to God by diving into his word, by understanding this is how he wants to bless me with food. He created this fruit or this piece of meat or whatever, this plant specifically for me, like as a gift from my Father in heaven. And I get to worship him by receiving his gift and celebrating that. And it's like I'm almost having an aha moment as we're talking, but I'm like, wow, like that's I'm so glad, Sam, that you are on our podcast and we're able to talk about this because I think this truth definitely needs to be heard and shared with other women who are struggling with food. I definitely have an unhealthy relationship with food with my Crohn's disease where I've been put in the hospital for like eating a granola bar or something that I thought was healthy for me. And so breaking free from those lies or those past hurts or wounds and actually like, yes, I can receive this food that God's given to nourish my body. And it'd be a beautiful blessing and a beautiful, relationship between my Father in heaven. So I just,
Exactly.
I love our conversation.
Yeah, and so, you really talk a lot about like mindset shifts, and that's what
Mhm.
it really takes to, allow God to like come into your heart to like get rid of that
Yeah.
idolization of food. And I will share like another verse that I kind of use when I'm like kind of either in like a rut of like, maybe I shouldn't eat this, or, if I'm feeling bad about eating something, or if I have that, like I'm going to eat a salad again. Like, do I really want a salad?
Yeah.
Things like that. And it's kind of the concept that society is labeled food as good and bad. God
Hmm.
said that all food is good, like everything he created is good.
Yeah.
But over time, we have labeled certain foods as like quote unquote good and quote unquote bad, which leads to a lot of that overwhelming feeling and that confusion around which foods
Hmm.
are actually,
Yeah.
gonna be beneficial for your health, which foods you should actually be using to nourish your temple and things like that. And so in the Bible, Jesus talks about anything that goes into the mouth doesn't defile the person, because it goes into the mouth and then it's expelled.
Yeah.
um what can defile a person is actually what's in their heart. So if you have goodness in your heart, that's what God's really looking for. He's
Hmm.
not um super concerned about whether you ate like one cookie, or if you ate like a plant-based meal or something like that. You do need to be able to nourish your temple, but if you're going to eat that cookie, it's not going to defile you. It's not going to put you further away from God.
Hmm.
But if you let that cookie control your thoughts, your feelings, and like you sit there and you're like, that cookie is gonna lead me into a downward spiral. Or, you kind of go like, I'm not gonna eat that cookie because I know, like it's gonna add calories, yada yada, those negative
Yeah.
connotations of dieting. And then you go and eat like all this other food, and then you come back to that cookie and then overindulge then more than you would have. And then you're feeling like really bloated and really sick or like physical discomfort because you let that cookie control you. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's a good verse, like when you're kind of being tempted by dieting and like that mentality to really think like, okay, this cookie is not going to defile me. What is in my heart? Let me seek God. If your body's telling you like maybe that cookie would be nice to have a treat after dinner, that's okay. But if you're going to let it control kind of like, again, how
Yeah.
you're feeling about it, that's when it's not okay. And that's when
Mm-hmm.
it's really becoming that idol.
Yes. So good. So Sam, I would love for you to share how you're serving those needing to build a positive relationship with food using this biblical approach.
Yeah, so I created a program called Fuel Up Faith, and it is 4 weeks of easy to understand modules and courses that really take people from feeling overwhelmed and confused to feeling confident and knowing how to nourish their body using fuel or using food as fuel for the purposes that God has for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so within this program, I really dive deeper into how to set goals that are rooted in God, how to like have different strategies around grocery shopping and like healthier kitchen habits and meal planning and things like that. We talk a lot about understanding the nutrients that your body needs. So I kind of talked a little bit about those 6 main nutrients that your body really needs, and we
Mm-hmm.
just go into a deeper dive into what that looks like. We talk about practicing portion control, not in the negative sense, but actually how to do it using God's guidance to give you that sense of food freedom and that sense of control over your nutrition habits to help you feel more confident and feel more nourished. And
Mm-hmm.
we also will go over a lot of intuitive eating, so faith-based intuitive eating principles, and how to be a mindful Christian. And these are really beneficial lessons to teach people that might have had a negative relationship with
Right.
food, might have grown up with not a lot of knowledge about nutrition, or being influenced by, societal standards of food, the quote unquote good versus bad foods. And it really like strips it away to the basic nutrition and how to use God's words to fuel your temple. So those modules are really good for people who want to be able to use food for that fuel and be in
Mm-hmm.
control of their nutrition habits and feel confident and feel closer to God and actually deepen in their relationship with Him. And then we also go over how to actually make your own nutrition plan. And so it's kind of a step-by-step process on how that's actually going to look, how to harvest the fruits of the Spirit, and how to actually use the Bible for self-control. And that's, again, not in a negative concept. If
Mm-hmm.
we are able to practice self-control, which is one of the traits of the fruit of the
Right.
Spirit, we're able to experience that freedom from God and experience those abundant blessings. So it kind of has a positive spin on how self-control can be beneficial for that health journey. And then again, just meal planning and how to actually align your meal plan for either just you as an individual or you as a family, and align it with God and actually root that meal plan in God. So that's
Mm-hmm.
just a little bit about what the course offers. And again, it really is just for the purposes of building a more positive relationship with food through God's words, And, I'm excited to be able to serve others and really help them improve their nutrition habits, improve their confidence, and really give them a solid foundation to build their physical and spiritual health, because we need nourishment, both physically and
Mm-hmm.
spiritually. And this course is really designed to do that for others.
I love that. That sounds awesome, Sam. So if people want to work with you, if they want to follow you, how can they find you in the social media world, online world?
Yeah, so you can go to the website at forksandgrace.com, and there's a lot of good information on there. And I'm actually going to start doing more blog posts and things like that to give a lot more information about certain topics that people want to see more of. So if you have any questions that you want answered or any topics that you want covered, definitely adding them on the website. There's a Ask the Dietitian section on the website, so you can type it into that form, and I can definitely answer those for you. If you want to follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you just do the handle at Forks and Grace, and it's Ann spelled out, so FORKSANDGRACE. And if you want to join our free Facebook group where we post a lot of nutrition tips and things like that, trainings, workshops, recipes, anything that has to do with nutrition and faith-based nutrition, I'll put in that Facebook group, and you can use that as a support system of people who are on this journey, just like you might be. And so that is just Forks and Grace. And I think Brandie will be able to put that in the description as well. So if you want to join that group, please feel free to do so. And I think that's about it for social media and website.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Samantha, for joining me today and just for sharing your heart and sharing your message that God's given you. I think it's a powerful message, and one that so many of us in today's culture and society and just in the Big C church, we need to hear and receive. So I really hope that the women listening are able to receive this message. And if they are struggling in this area, I put my stamp of approval on Samantha and her course. It is awesome. I've kind of reviewed it and been through it myself, so I'm definitely excited to be able to share this, share Sam and share her program with you guys listening. So with that, thank you guys so much for listening, and thank you, Sam, so much for being on the podcast today.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. We would love to hear from you. So please share your takeaways by tagging at Live Victorious over on Instagram and leave a review.
This will help us get more visibility and reach more women like you for the kingdom. We appreciate you and are praying for you as you shine your light in the business world and rise to your purpose.